All right, time to talk a little football, NFL style, with our friend Will Brinson, senior NFL writer, CBS Sports.com. I know you are eagerly anticipating the docu-series on Disney Plus. Most of us aren't. I'll have to watch it because, you can avoid it. But let me ask you about T.J. Watt's big-time contract. To me, the Steelers had no choice. I mean, he's one of the best players in football on the defensive side of the ball, and the Steelers are obviously all in because you're not paying Aaron Rodgers to be your quarterback if you're not. So your overall thoughts on did it have to happen, and was the amount of money appropriate for T.J. Watt?
Yeah, I mean, look, I think when you've got a guy like T.J. Watt who, Defensive Player of the Year candidate almost every single season, capable of leading the league in sacks every single season, you have Myles Garrett get paid what he got paid this offseason, and as you point out, you go and get Aaron Rodgers, you trade for DK Metcalf, you're making all these moves that, indicate you are, quote, all in on the 2025 NFL season. And I mean, the roster kind of fits that way. It's sort of a no-brainer to pay him. And
right.
This is a guy that was drafted by the team, has been with the team, really sort of embodies, I think you could even argue, what Pittsburgh football and that blue collar attitude. There's just no red flags aside from, maybe, injuries could occasionally be an issue for him. So, no brainer here, I think, you got to give, the market is what the market is. You top Jamar Chase and
right.
You top Myles Garrett. Myles Garrett set the market, and there was no real other option for the Steelers other than to pay T.J. Watt a little bit more than what Myles Garrett got. And now you get a captain, you get a team leader in there, and if you are all in the way that they are all in, yeah, I mean, this is just the cost of doing business in the NFL in 2025 is you have to pay your star players, top of the market value. And I don't I think TJ Watt's the type of guy where you also don't worry at all about him showing up this season and justifying the contract. Like if he plays 17 games or 16 games, whatever, being if they get a bye or something
right.
like that, if he plays the full season, you're going to get the maximum effort and a Defensive Player of the Year type of performance.
Will Brinson, senior NFL writer, CBS Sports.com, is joining us. Will Brinson on Twitter. There's two things from a Steelers perspective that I think make it easy. One, you're not paying your quarterback a lot because Rodgers, even though you signed him, and
right.
obviously it's a one-shot deal, it amounts to minimum wage for a quarterback. So you've got free money there, and even though it's a ton of money and there are long-term cap implications if he's no good beyond this year, which after age 31 we could certainly understand if maybe there would be a fall off, but I think you're willing to take that risk because he has been so good, and other than some injury nicks here and there, he's been pretty reliable.
Yeah, and I think to your point too about the quarterback, we talked about it, 2 weeks ago maybe. And if the Steelers want to win if the Steelers want to be really good this year, what they don't want is Aaron Rodgers throwing the ball 600 times, right? Or how many, whatever ends up being,
right.
You don't want Aaron Rodgers leading the league in passing attempts or even passing yards. That means that things have gone south for the defense and the running game, and it means that you're asking Rodgers to chunk the ball all over the place. And I don't think that's what you want at all. And to me, everything on the other side of the ball for the defense starts with T.J. Watt. So it's I almost think you can argue that making T.J. Watt happy, getting him into camp on time, getting him there for the full season, feeling whole and motivated is almost correlated with having Aaron Rodgers in place.
Will Brinson is joining us here on the Adam Gold Show. And the Steelers as a group, they were caping up for their guy. Cam Hayward was all in on T.J. Watt, even basically challenged management to do this. So, I think we can all agree that from a locker room standpoint, this is something that had to happen. Now, let me just kick this forward. And we heard a clip yesterday from Micah Parsons. in that, man, I wanted to get this done last year. Can you explain to me, and who knows, it might not ultimately be a ton of money, but had Micah Parsons been paid prior to last season, my guess is it would have been in the $35 to $38 million a year range.
Yeah.
Now what is it going to be when he's the last guy at the trough? Because I'm not counting Trey Hendrickson in here because there's no way Cincinnati's going to pay him. So we'll get to that in a second. Why is Jerry Jones waiting to pay Micah Parsons?
The only conceivable explanation for Jerry Jones's delay in paying Micah Parsons and CD Lamb and Dak Prescott and literally everyone, Jerry,
everybody.
Why do you do this? Is that he likes the attention. That's like the only conceivable explanation, because the explanation that he's somehow savvier than the market by not like. It'd be one thing if you have like a guy who you're like, all right, we don't really know if he's that dude, right? At wide receiver or edge. And you can make the argument with Dak, but Dak's a top 10 to 15 quarterback when he's healthy and playing well. And I mean that is
that's the right range for him, by the way. Top 10 to 15 quarterback.
Right. But then everybody, you don't need to be older than 10 years old to know that Micah Parsons and CD Lamb are two of the best guys at their respective positions.
Right.
You don't really even, you could never have watched football and turn on a football game and you would be like, those guys are really good at what they're doing. I mean, it's just not that hard. And so for Jerry to continually do this, the only explanation is that he is either super cheap and doesn't want to hand out the cash that comes with a brand new deal, which seems unlikely, or that, he loves the attention that prolonging these deals comes with, because he knows that the Cowboys are, he said it before, the Cowboys aren't just they're in it for the football, obviously, but they're also, he's made it clear, the Cowboys are an entertainment property, and he is not afraid to say that.
So here's the thing about Jerry Jones, because to me, he is a walking conundrum when it comes to this. Remember when he said we're all in, right? Right. So he didn't act like he was all in until it was at the very end, and then he was all in. Maybe he wants to pay these guys more than he should. Maybe he is super generous and wanted to pay Dak more and wanted to pay CD Lamb more, so he waited till everybody else got done before he did it. Because I really thought, before they paid Dak and CD, I really thought that Jerry Jones could recognize that his team wasn't good enough to win the Super Bowl. So why not move on from these players? Maybe you can bring something else in, trade them, whatever. Right? Let them go. Let somebody else pay them. And in Dak's case, way too much money. CD Lamb, I think, properly paid based on the going rate. And then basically start over. But no, he just waited till the end and then gave them all the money and still wasn't good enough. So to me, it's not super cheap. To me, it's almost like he wants to pay them more money than he should. And it's not the first time this has happened, right? This is the second time it happened with Dak.
Yeah, I mean, it's. I also think there's something with Jerry too, where, because he's done this with coaches. He did it with Mike McCarthy. He did it with Jason Garrett. He really truly does. He likes to kind of kick the can down the road and just
indecisive.
I mean, he's this. It is a conundrum you're talking about. We picture Jerry Jones as this very aggressive. He'll do anything, he's snap judgment guy. But, you look at it, he's only ever fired one coach mid-season, which is kind of rare for the NFL. I mean, David Tepper fired 17 coaches in one season. Just kidding. David Tepper's been very good lately.
He has been good lately. Absolutely.
Yeah. But Jerry, Wade Phillips is the only one that Jerry's ever fired mid-season, I think. And, I just think there's maybe some more indecisiveness and like unwillingness to commit for Jerry, and but it's just a miscalculation on his part, right?
Right.
Because he's sort of like, oh, let's just see what the market says. It's like, dude, you've been doing this for 40 years. Like, the market is just gonna go up.
Yeah.
Like, you're the one who forced the teams to LA and cranked up the revenues. You're the one who works on the TV deals and understands how much money is coming in for the NFL. Like, the value of football and how much money the league brings in, and therefore how much money goes into the salary pool, is not going down. And if you have elite players, the market is only going to rise. So, like, you always have owners out there. Like, look at the Browns. Right, they do the Sean Watson deal screws up the quarterback market.
Yep.
Which now it's a whole thing. They do like, all right, Myles Garrett's holding out, like, we're holding firm. It's like, all right, we'll just pay him. And then
right.
all of a sudden, somebody else is going to pay their star player, and if you beat them to the punch, you can get the guy for less, and then you aren't as restricted in terms of your stars and scrubs roster. It doesn't make any sense that they do it. So my only explanation is that Jerry likes the attention.
Maybe. It could be. He's the Aaron Rodgers of owners. All right, you led me right to it with the with collusion. So we had the ruling, the arbitrator.
You love a good
that was beautiful.
Friday afternoon CBA chat.
Yeah, look, here's the thing. We'll spend like 2 minutes on this. But if I were a player in the NFL and I found out that the head of the Players Association, the man we are paying, I don't know, $4 million a year.
Millions, yeah.
Right? That he knew that while it wasn't a ruling of collusion, but that they knew that the commissioner and the lead attorney for the NFL told ownership, don't give out long guaranteed contracts anymore. If I knew that he knew that and he didn't tell that to us because we had a legal stand to make, I would have fired him on the spot. Why were they still beholden to him? It was the other stuff, the conflict of interest with being part of the Carlyle group and the one partners deal that turns out not to be good. It was that stuff that really got him. I don't understand that they had to have buyer's remorse. I just don't get the mindset.
Yeah, I mean, I think, like, if you go through a checklist, FBI investigating your dealings, it's pretty strong, like, first check to, like, maybe we shouldn't have this, maybe this guy shouldn't be working here.
Right.
Pretty strong box to check off the top. You get the consultant for the group that's trying to buy a team,
yeah,
which is in literal conflict with being the guy who's helping out the players. Like, it could not be in more conflict than being involved on any aspect of an ownership side of things. And then, of course, you have but to your point, I think, like, all of those things combined make it real easy to move on. But, man, it shouldn't have been that hard to move on in the first place. The whole, like, he knew about, like, these owners trying to do that and then allowed that to be, like, I don't know how you, it's immediately fireable, right? Like, he should have resigned or been fired a while ago. And
we all knew this, and they were still publicly backing him. I just, for the life of me, didn't understand it. I mean, I said last week that there's no way he's not going to resign. He has to. But they were backing him.
When you talk about like it's like football players, like, why they don't have fully guaranteed contracts. I mean, it's because for years, dating back to not like you go back like over the course of all the people who have run the union, the players union. And, I mean, they've just typically been more league-friendly than in most other sports. And that's a lot of the reason why, you have the players in the NFL who lament some of the issues that they have from a, collective bargaining.
Yeah, the problem is that the 70% of the league can't afford to miss the paycheck because the careers are so short, and a lot of the league just doesn't make that much money. I'm like, we'd all love to make $2 million, $3 million a year. But in the grand scheme of things, with as much money as the NFL makes, you would think that a lot more players were making a lot more money than that. But most of them are pretty close to the league minimum. And they just can't afford, with 3 or 4 year careers, they just can't afford to miss the year. If they were willing to sit out a year, I think the CBA would be better. It still wouldn't be great because billionaires always beat millionaires. Will Brinson, a man who knows all about billionaires versus millionaires. I don't know. It was the best thing I could do there. I appreciate your time, sir. We're about to crank it up for good.
Yeah.
All right, man.
Pump for it, man.
I'll talk to you later.
Buddy.
Peace.